13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do by Amy Morin. Introduction. Break free from the obstacles holding you back and create the life you've always envisioned. Did you know that fostering connections with others has been shown to significantly benefit our mental health? Sharing this title with someone who enjoys learning with you could be an excellent way to start, and it's completely free. Simply select Add to a Shared Space from the main title screen, or check out the Spaces tab for more details. Amy Morin, a psychotherapist with extensive experience in helping people overcome challenges, faced her own struggles in 2013. Within a short span, she experienced the loss of her mother and her husband. After remarrying, she was dealt another devastating blow when her new father-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. Amy described this as the lowest period of her life. Feeling overwhelmed, she decided to write a personal letter to herself. In this letter, she outlined 13 things that mentally strong people avoid doing. After publishing the list on her blog, the post went viral, resonating with millions and ultimately reaching 50 million readers. A year later, Amy transformed her viral article into a book, which went on to become a bestseller, translated into 40 languages. Chapter 1 of 13 Mentally Strong People Replace Self-Pity with Gratitude. Let's begin building your personal toolkit to navigate life's toughest challenges. In this first lesson, we'll discuss why indulging in self-pity is unproductive and how to replace it with a more constructive mindset. To illustrate, let's start with a small incident, a minor car accident. One day, Amy Morin witnessed a fender bender in a supermarket parking lot. Two cars reversed into each other, resulting in a slight collision. While the accident was the same for both drivers, their reactions were vastly different. The first driver stepped out of his car with a sense of relief. He was grateful that no one had been injured and that the damage was minimal. The second driver, on the other hand, reacted with frustration. He complained about his bad luck, exclaiming how unfair it was and lamenting that this was just another misfortune added to his list. This contrast highlights the first habit that mentally strong people avoid. They don't indulge in self-pity. The second driver exemplifies self-pity by focusing on how unfortunate he feels, sulking over his bad luck and dwelling on his problems. People who pity themselves often magnify their challenges and feel as though life is unjust. Their conversations are often riddled with complaints, recounting every minor setback in great detail. While this behavior might seem harmless, it can actually be quite harmful. Self-pity wastes time and energy, while also reinforcing a negative mindset. When you fixate on what's wrong, you overlook life's positives, which only deepens your unhappiness and fuels a vicious cycle of negativity. So how do you break free from self-pity? The answer lies in gratitude. Gratitude is the most effective way to shift your mindset from focusing on what's wrong to appreciating what's right. If you find yourself stuck in thoughts of "bad things always happen to me," take a moment to pause and reflect on the positives in your life. Write them down. One helpful practice is to keep a gratitude journal. Each day, jot down at least one thing you're thankful for. You can also express gratitude verbally. Tell others what you appreciate about life and the gifts it has given you. Over time, this habit can help you adopt a mindset similar to the first driver, enabling you to notice the good, even in challenging situations. Chapter 2 of 13. Mentally strong people hold on to their power and forgive others. By shifting your mindset to gratitude, even in small inconveniences like a minor accident, you can move closer to becoming a mentally strong person. Welcome to the second lesson, where we'll explore how mentally strong people maintain control over their lives and don't allow others to dictate their emotions or actions. Let's take Lauren as an example. Lauren was a devoted mother of two and enjoyed an almost idyllic family life, except for one major issue: her mother-in-law. Lauren found her mother-in-law to be overly critical and intrusive. She would show up unannounced, openly criticize Lauren's parenting, and even make unkind remarks about her weight. Although Lauren outwardly remained polite, internally she was seething. The problem wasn't just the intrusion into her family time. Lauren found herself constantly ruminating and complaining about her mother-in-law, sometimes for hours each week. Clearly, this dynamic was taking a toll on her well-being. This brings us to the second habit mentally strong people avoid. They don't let others have power over them. Lauren's struggle was rooted in this very issue. By avoiding confrontation, she was allowing her mother-in-law to influence her emotions and behavior. This habit manifests in many ways. For instance, if you're easily hurt by criticism, angered by others' actions, or guilted into doing things you'd rather not do. It's a sign you're surrendering your power to others. So how can you reclaim control over your life? Let's revisit Lauren's story. Once she recognized how much energy she was wasting on complaints and resentment, she decided to address the issue head-on. Lauren sat down with her husband, and together they set clear and respectful boundaries with her mother-in-law. They had an honest conversation with her, explaining that instead of her dropping by unannounced, they would extend regular dinner invitations. Additionally, they requested that she stop criticizing Lauren's parenting style. By asserting herself calmly and respectfully, Lauren was able to regain control over her emotions and her time, illustrating the importance of setting boundaries to protect your mental strength. Chapter 3 of 13. Mentally strong people are always ready to embrace change. Although adapting to the new boundaries was challenging at first, Lauren's mother-in-law eventually adjusted, allowing Lauren to regain control over her home and life. Now, let's move on to the third lesson: how mentally strong people handle change. Take Richard, for example. Richard was feeling frustrated after being diagnosed with diabetes and learning from his doctor that he was 75 pounds overweight. Realizing he needed to make a significant change, he decided to take action, but found it harder than he had anticipated. He pledged to cut out junk food entirely, cleared his pantry of cookies and sugary drinks, and signed up for a gym membership. On paper, it seemed like a solid plan. However, in practice, Richard quickly fell back into old habits, snacking in front of the TV instead of exercising. Despite his best intentions, he didn't lose a single pound. The truth is, making changes in life can be incredibly difficult. Without mental strength, it's easy to avoid change altogether, which can leave you feeling stuck as others grow and progress around you. So how do mentally strong people embrace change? The key is to avoid one of the most common mistakes: trying to change too much, too quickly. This was Richard's downfall. His approach was far too drastic and unsustainable, setting him up for failure. Instead, mentally strong people use two key strategies to make change manageable. 1. Break big goals into smaller, achievable steps. Radical change is best approached incrementally. Richard learned this lesson by shifting his focus. Instead of aiming to lose 75 pounds all at once, he set a smaller goal of losing just 5 pounds to start. 2. Create a concrete plan. Having clear, actionable steps makes change less overwhelming. For Richard, this meant starting a food journal to track his eating habits, preparing his own lunches instead of eating out, scheduling 3 gym sessions per week. On the days he didn't go to the gym, he committed to taking short walks with his family after dinner. By breaking his goals into smaller steps and attaching specific, manageable actions to each one, Richard was able to take steady, consistent strides toward a healthier lifestyle. Mentally strong people don't rely on unrealistic, all-or-nothing approaches to change. Instead, they craft realistic, smaller goals and pair them with concrete daily actions that help them move forward, one step at a time. Chapter 4 of 13. Mentally strong people don't get distracted by things they can't control. When change becomes manageable, avoiding it is no longer an option. Now let's move on to the fourth lesson: how mentally strong people handle situations beyond their control. Take James, for example. James had planned a special afternoon of whale watching with his daughter, a rare and treasured opportunity. Since his divorce from Carmen, she had been granted primary custody, and James only got to see his daughter on Wednesdays and weekends. To complicate matters, James and his ex-wife often competed for their daughter's affection, each trying to outdo the other with gifts and exciting activities. When James found out that his ex-wife had taken their daughter whale watching just the week before, something he believed was done intentionally to undermine his plans, he was furious. Instead of enjoying the rare quality time with his daughter, James spent the afternoon angrily texting his ex-wife, and the outing was ruined. So what exactly happened here? James allowed himself to be consumed by something outside his control. Like many people, James wanted to feel fully in control of the situation, which included dictating how others acted. But trying to control what's out of your hands often leads to frustration and wasted energy, which is exactly what happened in James's case. Mentally strong people, however, develop a healthy sense of control. They understand the difference between what they can and cannot influence, which helps them focus their energy where it truly matters. The first step is simple but critical. Accept that there are things you cannot control. For example, you cannot force someone to follow your advice, make your child an A+ student, or stop the rain from falling. Certain things, like others' behavior, the weather, or unforeseen circumstances, are simply beyond your power. Once you've accepted this reality, you can redirect your attention to the things that are within your sphere of influence. This allows you to make the best of your circumstances, even when they are less than ideal. Returning to James's story, he eventually realized that he couldn't control his ex-wife's decisions or how she spent her time with their daughter. Instead, he shifted his focus to making the most of his own time with her. By letting go of what he couldn't change, James was able to redirect his energy toward what mattered most, enjoying quality moments with his daughter. Mentally strong people don't waste time battling forces beyond their control. Instead, they focus on their responses and actions, ensuring they make the best of the situations they can influence. Chapter 5 of 13. Always wanting to please others. Doesn't work, and being willing to displease makes you stronger. Rather than wasting time complaining about or fighting his ex-wife over custody, James learned to cherish the time he had with his daughter by being present. Now in the 5th lesson, we'll explore how mentally strong people balance their own needs with the needs of others, and why sometimes being willing to displease others can make you stronger. Meet Megan, whose problem is one many can relate to. Megan was constantly stressed, overwhelmed by a never-ending stream of demands from those around her. Church members often asked her to bake for Sunday service, her sister relied on her for babysitting, and her cousin would frequently drop by with last-minute favors. Over time, it became clear why Megan was so stressed. She struggled to say no. In short, Megan was a people-pleaser. Of course, being kind and helpful is a positive trait, but being too accommodating can become a problem. People-pleasers often put their own needs on the back burner to avoid conflict or disapproval. They worry excessively about others' opinions and will go to great lengths to be likable, often at the expense of their own time, energy, and happiness. But there's a cost to this behavior. When you prioritize everyone else's needs over your own needs remain unmet. This constant self-sacrifice leads to stress, frustration, and even harm to relationships, and this is exactly what happened to Megan. By always saying yes to her cousin's requests, she started feeling resentful and irritable, which affected her behavior toward her family. She frequently missed family dinners or wasn't available to tuck her kids into bed. So what can you do if you identify as a people pleaser? Here are 2 tips. 1. Accept that it's not your responsibility to make everyone happy. It's okay if someone feels upset or disappointed by your decision. It's not your job to ensure everyone around you is constantly happy. Adults are capable of managing their emotions, just as you've learned to manage yours. 2. Take time before agreeing to requests. This practical tip helps you avoid feeling pressured into automatically saying yes. Megan, for instance, often felt she had to agree immediately to any favor even if she didn't want to. To help her with this, the author gave Megan a simple strategy. Use a prepared response to give herself time to decide. For example, when asked for a favor, Megan started responding with phrases like, "Thanks for asking. Let me check my schedule and get back to you." This gave her the breathing room to assess her own priorities before agreeing to someone else's request. Mentally strong people understand that it's impossible to please everyone, and they don't sacrifice their own well-being to avoid conflict. Instead, they learn to balance helping others with meeting their own needs, even if it means occasionally saying no. Chapter 6 of 13. Mentally strong people are not afraid of taking calculated risks. By giving herself time to respond, Megan was able to make saying no easier, a small but powerful word that helped her manage her commitments better. Now let's dive into the 6th lesson, how mentally strong people approach risk-taking. When Dale shared his long-held dream of opening a furniture store with his wife, he was met with skepticism. She rolled her eyes, calling him a dreamer, and Dale couldn't blame her. Why would he abandon the stability of his high school teaching job for such an uncertain venture? Agreeing with her doubts, Dale pushed his dream aside and continued working the same old job. However, suppressing his true aspirations left him increasingly frustrated and unfulfilled. As time went on, he felt defeated and depressed, stuck in a dilemma. Should he stay in his secure career or take the leap to follow his dream? To understand what Dale was experiencing, let's examine how mentally strong people approach risk-taking. Many people, like Dale, are naturally risk-averse. They fear making bold decisions and often play out worst-case scenarios in their minds. But instead of pursuing their dreams, they remain stuck, endlessly wondering what if as they ruminate on the life they could have had. Mentally strong people, however, take a different approach. They take calculated risks. This involves two critical steps. 1. Gain a full and realistic perspective. Mentally strong people weigh both the potential risks and rewards of a decision. They ask themselves, what's the worst that could happen, and what's the best possible outcome? This allows them to approach risks with clarity instead of fear. 2. Adjust the risks to make them more manageable. Instead of adopting an all-or-nothing mindset, mentally strong people find middle-ground solutions. Too often, people approach life decisions with dramatic, unrealistic expectations, such as, either I'll become a famous rock star, or I'll be a failure forever. Instead, mentally strong people take practical steps to reduce risk while still moving forward. This is exactly what Dale did. He realized his decision didn't have to be an all-or-nothing choice. He could maintain the stability of his teaching job while also pursuing his passion for furniture making on the side. To reduce the risks further, Dale chose to start small. Instead of buying a physical storefront, he began selling his creations online during evenings and weekends. This approach allowed him to test the waters. If his business gained enough interest, he could consider expanding to a full-time store in the future. By taking calculated risks and finding a balanced path, Dale was able to pursue his dream without compromising his financial security. Mentally strong people don't avoid risks altogether, but they approach them thoughtfully. By evaluating potential outcomes and starting with manageable steps, they create opportunities to grow while keeping fears in check. Chapter 7 of 13. Coming to terms with the past makes you stronger, but it takes concrete steps to do so. Dale's mood improved when he embraced the calculated risks of pursuing his dream, just as mentally strong people often do. Now let's move to the 7th lesson, how mentally strong people deal with their past. Take Gloria, for example. Gloria's relationship with her 28-year-old daughter was strained and complicated. Her daughter was stuck in a cycle of self-destructive behavior, constantly switching boyfriends, failing to hold down a job, and repeatedly moving back into Gloria's home. Instead of addressing the problem, Gloria enabled her daughter's behavior, believing it was her way of making up for her own mistakes in the past. She felt overwhelmed with guilt and shame for not being present enough when her daughter was younger. As a result, Gloria was so fixated on the past that she couldn't focus on creating a healthier future for herself or her daughter. This highlights an important lesson. If you want to grow mentally stronger, you need to stop dwelling on the past. Dwelling on the past can take many forms. Perhaps you replay the same memories repeatedly, wondering how life might have turned out if you had made a different decision. Or you might hold on to the belief that reconnecting with an ex-lover will magically solve all your current problems. While some reflection on the past is healthy, excessive rumination can become destructive. So how do you let go of the past? Here's the answer. Accept it, come to terms with it, and move forward with intention. Step 1. Accept the past. The first step is to acknowledge that no matter what you do, you cannot change what has already happened. Acceptance may also include forgiving others who caused you pain. This doesn't mean excusing their behavior, but it does mean freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. Step 2. Shift your focus to the future. Once you've accepted the past, intentionally redirect your thoughts to the future. If you notice your mind drifting back to old regrets or memories, replace those thoughts with plans and goals. For example, you could start planning your next vacation or brainstorming new personal or professional goals. The more you train your mind to focus on what's ahead, the less power your past will have over you. Over time, it will become harder for your brain to fall back into old patterns of rumination. Now that we're halfway through, let's pause to reflect on what we've covered so far. Many of the lessons we've explored involve identifying and breaking bad habits, but it's important to note that habits can take on different forms. Let's revisit some of the previous examples. Gloria struggled with her thoughts as her mind remained stuck in the past. Richard, from Chapter 3, dealt with behavioral habits, such as snacking in front of the TV despite wanting to lose weight. James, from Chapter 4, faced emotional habits, allowing anger toward his ex-wife to ruin his quality time with his daughter. The key takeaway here is that mental strength operates on 3 interconnected levels: thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. Bad habits often start in one area, but can spill over into the others. However, this connection works both ways. Improving one area of your mental strength can positively impact the other two. By becoming aware of these three dimensions, you can take targeted steps to strengthen your mental resilience and build healthier habits across the board. Chapter 8 of 13, Mentally Strong People. Avoid repeating the same mistakes, and this requires self-discipline. Thoughts, behaviors, and emotions are deeply intertwined. Lesson learned. Now let's return to the 8th lesson, where we'll explore how mentally strong people avoid falling into the trap of repeating their mistakes. To illustrate this, let's take a journey back in time to mid-19th century Massachusetts and meet Roland Macy, a businessman with an ambitious dream. Macy launched a dry goods store but made a critical mistake. He chose a location that was far too quiet to attract customers. In an effort to drum up interest, Macy organized a grand parade through the town, ending at his store. Unfortunately, the parade coincided with an unbearably hot day, and no one showed up. The venture failed, leaving Macy deeply in debt and forcing him to close his shop. However, Macy didn't let this failure define him. Instead, he learned from his mistakes and resolved to avoid them in the future. The next time he opened a Macy's dry goods store, he picked a bustling, prime location in downtown New York City. The new store became a massive success, and Macy's went on to become one of the largest chain stores in the world. To this day, Macy's holds a parade every year, this time in the fall when the weather is more accommodating. Macy's story demonstrates a key trait of mentally strong people. They analyze their mistakes and use them as lessons for the future. To avoid repeating mistakes, mentally strong people take the time to reflect when things go wrong. Here are 3 critical questions to ask yourself. 1. What did I do wrong? 2. What could I have done better? 3. What can I do differently next time? But here's the challenge. Understanding what you need to change and actually making that change are 2 very different things. To truly break free from bad habits, you need to cultivate self-discipline. Here are 3 simple strategies to build your self-discipline. 1. Stay focused on your goal. Visualize how great it will feel when you achieve your goal. For example, if your goal is to write a novel, picture the pride and satisfaction of completing it. This visualization can motivate you to sit down and write, even on nights when you feel like relaxing in front of the TV instead. 2. Keep a list of mistakes to avoid. Write down the mistakes you've made in the past that you don't want to repeat, and carry this list with you. When you feel tempted to repeat one of these mistakes, take out the list and remind yourself why you want to avoid it. 3. Make it harder to make mistakes. Set up your environment to minimize the chances of repeating bad habits. For instance, if your goal is to save money for a dream vacation, but you tend to overspend when going out with friends, make it harder to access your funds. You could leave your credit cards at home or set a strict cash limit before heading out. By reflecting on mistakes, practicing self-discipline, and making intentional changes, you can break free from old patterns and build a stronger, more resilient mindset. Chapter 9 of 13. Mentally strong people don't envy other people's success, but seek to collaborate with them. If you want to avoid unnecessary spending, a simple trick is to bring only a small amount of cash with you and leave your credit card at home. Now let's move to the 9th lesson. How mentally strong people break free from the destructive habit of resentment. Let's start with an insightful study. If you've ever felt a twinge of jealousy while scrolling through social media and seeing your peers' seemingly perfect lives, you're not alone. In 2013, researchers conducted a study titled Envy on Facebook, a hidden threat to users' life satisfaction. The study found that seeing other people's successes and happiness online can leave you feeling down. Vacation photos were especially harmful, and surprisingly, even something as simple as seeing someone receive many birthday wishes could spark envy and anger. Sound familiar? That uncomfortable feeling is resentment, something mentally strong people avoid. When you compare yourself to others and feel like their lives are more successful or glamorous than yours, it's easy to feel envious of their good fortune. Outwardly, you might smile and act polite, but inwardly, you may feel bitterness. For instance, if your neighbor shows off their brand new Tesla at a garden party, you might secretly despise them for it, even if you were having a great time before. Often, resentment is a reflection of our own insecurities. It's especially easy to feel envious when you don't have a clear sense of what you truly want in life. For example, imagine you have a friend who frequently travels the world for high-powered business meetings. Your initial reaction might be, I wish I had that lifestyle. But do you really? Perhaps you've also wished for more family time. So what is it that you genuinely desire? A jet-setting career or a more grounded, family-centered life? Here's how mentally strong people avoid resentment. 1. Define success on your own terms. Instead of envying others' accomplishments, gain clarity about what success means to you. If your goal is to bike to work more often, for example, you won't be jealous of your neighbor's new car. You wouldn't even want it. Once you're clear on your own aspirations, it's easier to focus on your goals rather than comparing yourself to others. 2. Shift your mindset from competition to collaboration. Life isn't a race where you have to outperform everyone else. Mentally strong people reject this competitive mentality and focus on collaboration instead. By celebrating others' successes and looking for ways to work together, you can create more meaningful relationships and opportunities for growth. Resentment feeds on insecurity and comparison, but mentally strong people choose self-awareness and cooperation instead. By understanding what you truly want and embracing a mindset of collaboration, you can free yourself from envy and focus on building a fulfilling life on your own terms. Chapter 10 of 13. Mentally strong people don't give up easily, and they are self-compassionate about failure. If you're envious of your brother's financial success, why not turn that envy into action by asking him for advice? It's hard to resent someone who's willing to help you, right? Now let's dive into summary number 10, where we explore how perseverance is the key to long-term success, and how mentally strong people embrace failure with self-compassion. Let's start with an inspiring example, Thomas Edison. Edison is world-renowned as the inventor of the light bulb. But did you know he also created contraptions like the electric pen and the ghost machine? If these inventions don't sound familiar, it's because they were complete failures. And these were just two of many projects that didn't work out for Edison. However, Edison didn't see these attempts as failures. Instead, he viewed them as opportunities to learn. For him, each failed experiment brought him one step closer to success. He famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." But let's face it, most people don't see failure the way Edison did. If you drop out of college or lose an important client, your first reaction probably isn't, "Great, another learning opportunity." Instead, failure often brings feelings of shame and discomfort, emotions we try to avoid at all costs. As a result, some people develop the habit of giving up at the first sign of difficulty. But if you want to build mental strength, giving up cannot be an option. So how should you handle failure? Here are 2 tips to help you persevere. 1. Challenge your beliefs about success and failure. It's easy to blame failure on a lack of talent when things don't go as planned. But this belief simply isn't true. Research has consistently shown that hard work and consistent practice outweigh natural talent. For example, someone who dedicates hours to deliberate practice will likely surpass someone who relies solely on innate ability. The same goes for IQ. Intelligence may give you a head start, but perseverance has proven to be a far more important factor in achieving long-term success. The key is to let go of the myth that success comes effortlessly to those who are naturally gifted. Instead, recognize that persistence and effort are the real predictors of achievement. 2. Be self-compassionate in difficult times. Many people are their own harshest critics. When you fail, you might find yourself spiraling into self-doubt, telling yourself you're not good enough. But this kind of negative self-talk can lead to resignation and a reluctance to try again. Instead, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a close friend. If a friend came to you upset over a failure, you wouldn't berate them or tell them to give up, would you? You'd offer encouragement and remind them of their strengths. Now try doing the same for yourself. By letting go of unhealthy beliefs about failure and learning to be kinder to yourself, you can build resilience and stay motivated to keep going, even when the path gets tough. Chapter 11 of 13. Mentally strong people are comfortable being alone and use meditation to build resilience. Nobody's perfect, and that includes you. Practicing kindness toward your own shortcomings can help you develop a more realistic perspective on what's achievable. Now, in summary number 11, let's explore how mentally strong people embrace alone time and use it to strengthen their resilience. This time, we're back in Morin's counseling office with Vanessa, a successful real estate agent who had a unique problem. Despite her busy, exhausting workdays, Vanessa struggled to fall asleep at night. Her mind felt like it was constantly racing, replaying the day's events or worrying about tasks ahead. When Morin asked her how often she took time to sit quietly by herself and let her thoughts settle, Vanessa admitted, "Never. Why would I?" Vanessa's attitude reflects how many people feel about alone time. They see it as unproductive or even unsettling. The idea of sitting in silence can make some people uncomfortable, so they fill their schedules with social activities. Even when they're physically alone, they turn to their phones, TVs, or other distractions to avoid silence. But mentally strong people know this. By constantly avoiding alone time, you miss out on significant benefits. While too much alone time, especially if accompanied by feelings of loneliness, can have negative effects, research shows that cultivating solitude skills can lead to greater mental well-being, increased life satisfaction, and improved stress management. Most importantly, spending time alone can help you recharge and reset. How to get comfortable with alone time. If you want to embrace alone time, you need to approach it with intention. It's easy to dismiss it as unimportant or skip it entirely. But mentally strong people take specific steps to prioritize this valuable time. 1. Schedule alone time. Treat alone time as a non-negotiable appointment. Put it on your calendar, and let your family and friends know you're unavailable during this period. This ensures that you carve out time for yourself, even on your busiest days. 2. Find activities you enjoy doing solo. Use your alone time for meaningful activities that allow for self-reflection. Scrolling through social media, binge-watching TV, or endlessly watching cat videos on YouTube doesn't count. Instead, engage in activities that help you connect with your thoughts and emotions. Journaling, for example, is an excellent way to explore your inner world. 3. Practice meditation and mindfulness. Meditation and mindfulness are some of the best ways to quiet your mind and find a sense of inner peace. These practices can help you process your thoughts, reduce stress, and strengthen your mental resilience. This is exactly what Vanessa did. She began setting aside time each evening for mindfulness and meditation. Over time, this habit helped her wind down, quiet her racing thoughts, and recharge for the next day. Mentally strong people understand that being alone isn't something to fear or avoid. It's a tool for self-discovery and renewal. By scheduling intentional alone time and embracing practices like meditation, you can cultivate resilience and find clarity in the midst of life's chaos. Chapter 12. Out of 13, many people adopt an entitlement mindset, but resilient individuals focus on giving rather than taking. Her rapid stream of thoughts began to ease significantly, and before long, she found herself peacefully asleep, like a baby. So here we are, moving on to link number 12, where we'll uncover strategies to steer clear of entitlement traps. Lucas wasn't exactly well-liked among his co-workers. Despite being a recent college graduate and just starting his career, he acted like he had all the answers. He frequently lectured his more seasoned colleagues on how things should be done, thinking of himself as an indispensable asset who was destined for a leadership promotion. However, instead of getting promoted, Lucas's boss advised him to tone down his behavior. His co-workers grew increasingly irritated by his overbearing attitude, perceiving him as entitled. Although Lucas's behavior may seem extreme, many of us share a bit of that same mentality. To some degree, we're all tempted to believe that life owes us something. Here's the issue. The more you convince yourself that you're entitled to something, the less likely you are to truly earn it. If you feel the world owes you, you'll focus on demanding rather than working for it. Moreover, having unrealistic expectations about what you should receive can drive others away. If people sense that you're mostly interested in taking and rarely in giving, they'll likely avoid you. So, how can you overcome a sense of entitlement? The first step is recognizing it. Feeling entitled doesn't necessarily mean you're going through life like royalty. For most people, entitlement shows up in more subtle ways, particularly in thought patterns. For example, if you think there's something uniquely special about you, believe certain rules shouldn't apply to you because they seem silly, or often think, life isn't fair. I deserve better. These are indicators of an entitled mindset. Instead, try adopting some humility. Start by admitting you have flaws, just like everyone else. Yes, it may be difficult to accept, but the truth is, you're not perfect. Like everyone, you have weaknesses, insecurities, and imperfections, and that's completely okay. Additionally, try receiving constructive criticism with more humility. Since none of us are perfect, The person offering feedback likely has a valid point. You may not fully agree, but dismissing them as ignorant isn't productive. Ultimately, that's what Lucas learned to do. He recognized the negative impression he had created among his colleagues and committed to making changes. He stopped acting like he knew everything and became more open to learning from those around him. Chapter 13 of 13. Mentally strong individuals understand that achieving success takes time and that progress isn't always immediately visible. And who knows? This mindset, he just might earn that promotion after all. Congratulations, you've reached the final chapter, number 13. This one focuses on how mentally strong people commit to the journey and play the long game. If there was one thing Marcy struggled with, it was her well-known impatience. When her children or co-workers didn't keep up with her pace, she'd often say, "I'm not getting any younger." She had read countless self-help books but felt let down when they didn't instantly transform her life. After only a few therapy sessions, she quit because she didn't see the immediate results she was hoping for. What Marcy really wanted was a shortcut, a magical solution to erase her dissatisfaction with life. Unfortunately, as mentally strong people understand, no such magic pill exists. If instant gratification becomes your default expectation, you're bound to face challenges. The reality is that change is difficult, and progress is not always quick or obvious. The real question is, how do you deal with this? If you approach life like Marcy, you might easily become discouraged and give up before you see the results of your efforts. This means you'll miss out on the unique rewards that come only with long-term dedication. Some achievements, such as earning an education, advancing in your career, or reaching a creative breakthrough, require years of hard work, perseverance, and often a lack of immediate payoff. The first step to embracing the long haul is setting realistic expectations. If you expect success to be quick and easy, you're setting yourself up for frustration and disappointment. It's also important to avoid rigid, inflexible deadlines for your goals. While it's beneficial to have a rough timeline in mind, treating your goals as an all-or-nothing situation can backfire. Instead, take a more adaptable approach. Next, practice perseverance. Resist the pull of instant gratification whenever possible. Say no to the cookie or the impulse to buy something online. However, even with strong self-discipline, you'll still need to experience occasional moments of success and accomplishment to stay motivated. Conclusion. Final summary. Take the initiative to create small, achievable goals for yourself. Break down your larger objective into manageable short-term targets, and don't forget to celebrate each milestone you reach. Accomplishing one milestone after another will keep you motivated and energized for the bigger journey ahead. And there you have it, Amy Morin's renowned 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do. Thank you for joining me. Got feedback? Drop a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our amazing content.